Hi, my name is Chris Best, and I left my 25-year corporate career to ride motorcycles and tell stories. And one of the first stops I made about 4 or 5 years ago when I started this adventure as a job and quit my real job was here, Strokers, Dallas, and I came for my friend Rick Fairless's birthday party. But we're back several years later, and we're getting a one-on-one VIP tour of Strokers, Dallas, place you definitely got to check out whether you live in Texas or not. That's where we start this episode of the Biker Dad TV show, so let's roll.
Rick Fairless, Strokers Dallas. So if you got a few minutes, I'd love to show you around my little empire here on Harry Hines. So when you come in, you know, the first thing I show people is the ceiling. It was kind of a major undertaking 20 years ago to do that, but I just like the art aspect of it. This place is like a throwback to the 60s and the 70s, which was, you know, that was the time when I was raised. You'll see the cartoon bike here. This is my bagger. You know, if I'm gonna ride somewhere out of town or out of state, I ride. This is what I ride. Started life as a Victory. I used to be a Victory dealer. See, I'm with the Looney Tunes. Did you see that, Chris?
Oh.
There I am with the Looney Tunes.
That fits.
But people love this bike, you know, because everybody can relate to Tom and Jerry or Top Cat or the Jetsons. So for years, my showroom back in the 90s was full of choppers. Right here's a big dog chopper, there's an Iron Horse chopper. So the whole showroom was choppers forever. 2008 rolled around and then the economy got tough and Big Dog and Iron Horse and Big Bear choppers went away. But we've always sold used Harleys. This is the Simpsons, by the way. Do you know the Simpsons?
I'm very familiar.
So you got Marge, you got Homer. This is Marge, you got Homer. This one is, what's her name?
Lisa.
Lisa, Maggie, and Bart. And then what, Santa's Snowball and Santa's Little Helper? Isn't that them?
Yep.
So when I got these, I got them one at a time over a period of 15 years. And so when I bought Marge, Maggie is attached to her, but Maggie didn't have a head. So we got the dimensions and I found one of those places that do the copy thing, you know. So we had the head made.
Nice.
So these are some of my personal bikes here. You know, the thing is they can be art, but they have to be functional. They have to be able to be ridden. This chopper is one of the ones that I ride the most. I call it the Susie chopper. And if you notice, these three bikes here all have the Sugar Bear front end.
Yeah.
And the reason they are so popular is there's no fly. So you know how if you take your bike and you move the front wheel, the bike moves. This bike here I bought it new in 1982, so I've had it over 43 years. It was on the cover of Easy Rider magazine in '96, so I've kind of kept it in that look. It's a 1982 Harley-Davidson Super Glide FXE shovelhead. When I bought it new, it was $5,200 and I thought, oh my God, that's crazy, $5,200, so much money. Here's a '79 lowrider that we did a complete restoration for a customer.
Nice.
Just got done with it. He should be coming to pick it up in the next couple of weeks, but it turned out fabulous. This is one we did for a friend of mine, one of my hamster brothers in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He's a rock and roll enthusiast. So we did kind of a rock and roll theme to this. You can see I got John Lennon on it. And then we had these heads made over in England. And I had them engraved. So you can see Jimi Hendrix on there and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and 10 years after and all that.
Awesome. Is that a Sugar Bear front end too?
Sugar Bear front end too. Yeah, if I'm gonna build a chopper, it's gonna have a Sugar Bear front end. So growing up, you know, we obviously liked the Beatles, so one of my best buddies and I, you know, he was a Paul McCartney guy and I was always a John Lennon guy, like John Lennon. Ross Perot was one of my customers. So here's one of the wealthiest guys in the country and he would come out here and, you know, he'd be wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and Bermuda shorts, and most people never recognize him. One guy said one time, he said, "Rick, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but there's a guy sitting out there, and I swear to God, it looks just like Ross Perot." And I said, "What would Ross Perot be doing here?" You know, you didn't want to call attention to it. So you can see the TV there shows some of the bikes being ridden. So that's the cartoon bike we were looking at. And I think we were in Utah on the Kyle Petty charity ride there.
That's cool.
That's what that was. That's Jody Perowitz, Dave Perowitz's daughter, filming us, and that's my daughter. And my daughter actually in that one was riding one of Herschel's bikes, Herschel Walker's bike.
Oh, very cool.
That was in Sturgis a few years ago. But this is Pam. Pam was built as when S&S, you know, the big motor company, had their 50th anniversary. They invited 50 builders to build 50 bikes for the 50th anniversary. So the builders were from 14 different countries. So I was one of the builders, and this is what we built around the S&S twin cam. Runs perfect. I used to take her to Sturgis all the time, but she hadn't been up there in a couple of years. These are the 3 bikes that I ride the most. That's why they're here, so I can go out the door. Bad Pan, we built this bike 38 years ago. Hasn't always looked like this, but it's looked like this for the last 25 years. 65 pan head motor. Eileen, it's a custom chopper that we built. I put the holes in the tank and the frame and the oil tank just to do something different. Runs perfect. I rode it a lot in Sturgis. Alice is a 75 shovel head. That's the year I graduated high school. Alice was my sheepadoodle. She was my best friend. I love riding that bike. To me, that's what the perfect Harley Davidson looks like, is that. You know, growing up as a kid, that's what I wanted. Shovels and pans, and I love the pans, but I'm a shovel head guy. Okay, we'll go back here. First new Harley. I've only bought one new Harley in my life, and it was that shovel head, so I'm kind of partial to shovels. So when I started 30 years ago, you know, these buildings were all here, but they were leased by different people, so I had this forward. So this was a service department through here, parts where my bikes are, and in my office. So about 22 or 3 years ago, we bought the complex, and so we took over all the, you know, everything. These are our corporate offices back here. Everything's eclectic.
Clydesdale.
Life-size Clydesdale.
That's pretty cool.
We used to have, because I own several companies, so we would have weekly meetings every Friday morning. All the department heads of the different companies, we would meet, talk about what's going on. Don't forget about this. Hey, get ready for that. You know, any problems or whatever. For 20 years. And then COVID came around. And then so there's no more, you know, no more meetings. And I've never started them back up. We just do them informally. I do a podcast every single day on YouTube and on my Facebook and TikTok channel. But we do another podcast that I do in here sometimes with one of my hamster brothers. Some of the bikes that we've done over the years. So when you build a bike, and we'll see in a minute, like the bike we were looking at, Eileen. So Eileen actually starts out like this. So it's, you know, you're building the bike like this, and then so it's, you know, you're almost done, the bike is almost built, then you pull it all apart, you send it out for chrome and paint and powder coat, you know, and once it comes back, which can be 6 months later, then you put it all back together.
A lot of people don't realize when you build a bike, you're building it like 3, 4, 5, 10 times, whatever it takes.
And then the other part that people don't realize is once you get it back from paint and powder coating, your tolerances have changed. So you got to make allowances for that. So it's you know, I mean, to build a bike like Eileen or the Susie chopper or any of these choppers in here, it's a year-long deal. It's a year-long deal, and it's very expensive.